I've been. Dreams are seeds we plant, my friend. Dusty boots, but a heart of gold. Your story's waiting to be told. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small but shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Cowbell ring and feel the beat. Hustle hard, don't take a seat. Every step you're blazing trails. Inventive journey never fails. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small but shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small but shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small but shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Your time is now, your stars align. Your time is now, your stars align.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller. This is a serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as a founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours? Just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Laurie Stach. And that's probably as close as I'm going to get to pronouncing her last name right, but I'm sure she'll be able to correct me. But Laurie started her journey when she was younger, wanted to take on the world, and built a lot of things growing up with her brother, and then had a lot of interest in high school and went off to college at MIT. Afterwards, worked for GE and BMW for a couple of years each within a couple different sectors. Later went to business school, and then after that became a management consultant before shifting to launching her current endeavor with LaunchX, which is helping high school students learn real skills for the future. So with that much as a quick introduction, welcome to the podcast, Laurie.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely excited to have you here. So I just gave a quick intro to a much longer journey, but why don't we rewind and unpack that a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started growing up with your brother and liking to work and build lots of different things.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, I was definitely the type to always be kind of like building and making things when I was younger. And with my brother in particular, I mean, I remember times we were building forts in the backyard. We at one point built a double-decker go-kart, which was a terrible idea, mind you. But I love that even though my dad is an engineer, let us build it. We had it all decked out with like the coolest things, of like a spot for the cooler. We had a parachute that would deploy off the back, because if it was good enough for F1, it was good enough for our go-kart. So all decked out, and our maiden journey come tearing out of the driveway. I was on the top floor, my brother was driving, and I just went flying off the top of it. So I mean, I say I learned a lot about angular momentum that day. but also a lot about the kind of like prototyping and iterative journey, which I didn't really realize at the time. There were tons of other things that my brother and I would build, and then did so together separately throughout those years. And I mean, I think a common thread though is when we were younger, like middle school and high school, I don't know that I ever really felt like I belonged anywhere. It's a weird mix of like nerdy and athletic and artistic and a number of different things. And then it wasn't really till college that I felt like I really started to meet my people. And I remember, yeah, as you alluded to when I was younger, gosh, adults would always say, "Oh, you're going to do great things someday, and you have a degree and experience." So you have to buckle down and like went to get my fancy degrees and absolutely love the community of people that I had at school. Um, I ended up doing mechanical engineering because in my first year, when I was told there was a major where you could dream something up and then hold it in your hands a few hours later, I was sold. That to me was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing. Had no idea yet how I was going to apply it, where I was going to work, anything. I just knew that that was really freaking cool. And I wanted to spend a lot of time in the machine shop. So I did. I spent a lot of time in undergrad in the machine shop and ended up for the summer before going to work for GE. And I don't think I told you about this before, but I worked in MIT's media lab, and we had a machine shop in the basement, and we'd mock things up all the time, and it was a blast. Like we built something that was intended, and this was, mind you, a number of years ago, an omnidirectional car that then also had like all of the suspension within each wheel and other kinds of things just hadn't been trialed and played with before. And it was a blast again to just mock things up and then go out and like literally test drive what we had built from the machine shop that day. And I didn't really know yet how these pieces would come together of like loving that, creating and building. So went to work in some of the kind of traditional industry jobs, did a commercial leadership program at GE. And when I left there, went to work for BMW's design studio, which was actually pretty similar to what I'd done at the MIT Media Lab, getting to like build and make stuff and prototype, helped get them a 3D printer to be able to, prototype things and really hold them in your hands early on. So got to do a lot of really fun projects there. But I guess after a while, it was something that building physical things just didn't feel like enough anymore. I'd always been the type to, I don't read tons of different books and think about like what this meant for how different industries would shape in the future and like just kind of charting and mapping out the way the world would look. And in my mind, that's what business school would be, is like sitting there at a whiteboard and saying, here's what the world will look like in 20 and 50 years. So applied to business school. And unfortunately, that wasn't what business school was, but it was really beneficial in a lot of other ways. One of the things that I found most profound, so we did case study method at HBS, and they give you this case to read through, and you're supposed to then come in and argue what the protagonist should do. Like, should they go path A or B, or if you want to make up other ones. But half of the class would argue adamantly for option A, and other half like adamantly for option B. And at the end, there wasn't any right answer. Like the professor wouldn't say, hey, here's what the right thing to do is. And at first that drove me nuts because, like, mind you, I was an engineer. I wanted an equation for everything. I wanted for the right answer and like reverse engineer it. Everything had to have that perfect answer. So that was insanely frustrating. But then as it went on, I kind of realized like that was the point. There is no right answer. Like most things in the world do not have an equation, do not have this clarity on what the right path is. And then even further, as that first semester went along, we take all of our first year classes with the same people. I would start to notice that certain people, like, oh, that person always gives a little bit more of the social impact perspective. That person always gives a little bit more of this like kind of capitalist perspective. And you could almost predict what they were going to say before they said it. I mean, not exactly, but like at least where they were coming from. And I realized like, wow, that's what we can hope for in life, is to have this kind of alignment of decision making for ourselves or for our companies that makes sense for us. Um, so there were, these light bulbs that were that were going off there that I didn't quite yet know how to piece together, because I went to business school knowing I wanted to do management consulting. Having done the type of work I did before, I knew I loved variety and working with smart peers and tackling a lot of problems, um, and actually really did love management consulting. I kind of happened into starting my company on the side of it. Um, and I call it my professional enlightenment. I didn't know you could get so much from work. um,
Now, did
because
you go,
yeah, being a
because you mentioned the side hustle or kind of the business now, but or as you came out of doing the MBA or degree, did you go directly to kind of starting management consulting or doing your own thing, or did you go anywhere else, or kind of what was that transition transition as you got the MBA?
yeah, after my MBA, like I said, I know I was going to do management consulting. I chose the latest possible start date. So it was like August or something like that. So I had about 3 months that I started a company in the summer because I knew I wanted to start a company again at some point, because I'd started to put together some of those pieces of those like entrepreneurial mindset skills, things that I had developed over time. And so I knew that's something I wanted to do at some point. I started with kind of a mini business. It was a customizable, like, or semi-custom jewelry company. Um, so designed it, created the website, made the jewelry, etc. Went to different fairs to sell it. And oh my God, it was like the best highs of my life up until that point. Like the day the website went live, and like giddily jumping around in a way that was just so out of character for me, but it was just truly how I felt. And I can still remember the first sale, the first time somebody actually like handed me money for it. And oh my gosh, it was this girl that was just so excited, and she knew exactly the first event she was going to wear it at and everything. Like, just those moments that really just make your heart expand. Um, and I knew that wasn't going to be my longer term business, but it was at least great to get those initial feelings, to feel confident enough to leave a good paying job like consulting. Um, but then also to get some of those jitters out of the way, to recognize that there's not really like that perfect right answer. Um, and yeah, so then I actually ended up starting my company on the side of being a management consultant.
And kind
So
of
about
over
a
what period of time did you kind of do that as, people always say a side hustle, and I always look at it really as probably more of a second full-time job in the sense you usually spend as much or more time, on the side hustles you do the full-time job. But how long was that kind of that transition period before you decided to do that or do that full-time focus?
It was almost a full year. The company was an idea in about August of 2012, and the first summer it was held within 2013. And when I say it was an idea, it started as like a conversation over brunch with a friend that, then it became, okay, like what areas would I want to research? And then I think a lot of people also think that to test it, to have an MVP, like for something like an education program, they're like, oh, I have to have, the entire curriculum and know where I'm getting mentors and know where I'm holding it, etc. Nope, started with a website that just outlined some of the rough things that we would cover in the program, and had an application on there, and just started to assess, okay, what's getting traction, what's getting people to click through the application, and adjusting and iterating from there. I wrote some of the curriculum the day before it was taught, or even last bits right before. But I think that's typical of a lot of startups that do well, is they kind of stage out in time doing things when they need them. And that's I say a hard thing to figure out, is like, when do you actually need something? Um, but even in those early days, like the first day or two of it being an idea, I mapped out this whole like Gantt chart. And okay, yes, engineering term for those who don't use Gantt charts on a more daily basis. Mapped out, okay, if the first summer is 2013, when would we need to accept students by, and when would applications need to be in, et cetera? Like, when would we need to have and just kind of mapped out when different things would need to happen, going all the way back to that date in August 2012. And so, yeah, like hearing all of that, you're like, that was a full-time job on the side of consulting. So I technically even took just a leave of absence, a sabbatical from my consulting job for that first summer, and decided not to return. But I even still had a little bit of that safety net, which I mean, I think you hear a lot of entrepreneurs doing as well, whether it's, Mark Zuckerberg only took a leave from Harvard and still had the option of going back, or other things like that, where people, find ways to test it that they're not going 100% in. They're dipping toe in the water gradually and gradually until jumping in.
No, makes perfect sense. So you did that, started out kind of the side hustle, transition doing it full time. Now, as you made that leap over to kind of doing that full time and or removed or overcame the safety net, or however you want to say it, walk us through kind of now, as you're doing that, the iteration or the evolution of the business kind of catch us up kind of from that point to where things are at today.
Yeah, it's evolved a lot through the years. And I will say also that it took a while to be something that I could really sustain myself on. I think it's true of a lot of startups. I was lucky to have a little bit of a safety net had saved up. So the program started that first summer, 2013, with running at MIT, one location, one class of 30 students. Since I'm an alum of there, I had my heart set on holding it there because that was the first place that I felt my community of people. So I was like, oh gosh, I wanna bring together these students that are yearning for that community of other problem solvers and industry mappers and everything to the same place that matters so much to me. Um, and it took a lot of no's to then finally find one person who had access to a computer lab that could hold up to 30 people. And we had to like turn the computer screen sideways and such, but like we made it work. It was yeah, it was our MVP. And then grew from there to 2 programs per summer at MIT for a few years there. And I say a few years there. After one more year, I was actually looking to expand it to other university locations when MIT made a great offer for me and the program to come in-house at MIT. So worked within MIT for a couple of years. And I guess that was semi-acquisition hire and acqui hire, but I still owned the program. And then after a couple of years there, had just a really like honest conversation about what the future of the company or what of the program would be, of myself, and how that fit into the context there. And I kind of realized that my personal mission was a bit more aligned with expanding LaunchX to meet more, or to support more students. And if it remained there, it'd be limited in how many we could run. MIT only has so much space for us to be able to run it. So had a lot of great opportunities there, even have an online course and a book and other things from being at the time in MIT, but expanded it to many different locations. And we were on a great path for growth. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, shifted to run online for a couple of years because that was trendy at the time. That's the reason. And I'll say that was definitely a hard shift. I credit a lot my team, particularly my operations manager, and us asking a lot of the difficult questions to make that decision early. I remember very, very early her starting to spur me with questions of, what would this look like to go online? And I was immediately resistant because there's so much of the value of coming together in person. But then as we broke it down, we said, okay, are there ways that this could actually be better by being online? What does that open up for us? Like, what is it we're delivering? Because we're not just delivering lectures or education. It's so much more than that. So what does that mean for how we would be able to deliver that? And once we started thinking about those possibilities, it removed some of the resistance of doing it. And then we're like, okay, let's map out and say what portion of our students are international. What's our estimation on ability to be able to have all of our students actually get here for the summer. what about different aspects of the universities being open to hold things, et cetera. So as we mapped out like 2 or 3 key things, we realized, gosh, we've got to move online. So we did that relatively early that year. And so now run in-person programs, still have the online version because there's great flexibility in having that. But I've also expanded to some things like boot camps and other programs, like pitch events that we run all over the world, in particular to really try to spur entrepreneurship in some areas around the world. And then we've also been discussing having a more intensive accelerator that really is kind of the Techstars Y Combinator of youth entrepreneurship, if you will. But yeah, and then I guess the other thing is in the last few years, I brought on a CEO to handle the day-to-day. So that has been an exciting shift, and I think a necessary one. If anything, I think I probably waited a little bit too long to do that. And I think a lot of founders do because they mistake being the founder and the one who cares about it so much and loves it and has this mission and vision with being the only ones who can get it to where it could be, or the only ones that have that vision of what it could be. And I mean, certainly finding the right person for that is super important. But finding someone who has had more experience with that growth of things, I think is really valuable.
Oh, awesome. Well, sounds like it's been certainly a good journey and a great evolution along the way of finding where you wanted to head and then kind of what that looks like best for you. Now, if you're to kind of, or as we've caught the present day, but before we jump to the last question, but, if you were to look out in kind of the next 6 to 12 months, kind of where things are headed and what might be in store for you, kind of what would that look like for you?
Yeah, so for the next 6 to 12 months, for me, I guess it's a couple of things. There are some of the things going on with LaunchX, which, like I said, really excited about the idea of an accelerator. And part of where that came to be is like we really began to realize that like what is at the core of the company is this kind of irrational confidence in entrepreneurial youth, just knowing they can do great things. It's been pretty awesome to see. I was just calculating over the weekend. The alumni of our first 10 years, which is like less than 2,000 students, already have a portfolio value of over 17 billion. And so there's this part of this is like, oh my gosh, we really just need to accelerate that more. So that's on the LaunchX side. On my side personally, since I have a team running the company, that's really opened me up to play around with a lot of other entrepreneurial pursuits. And I've done a bit of consulting here and there for different universities and different entrepreneurial projects. But I'm also so excited for where the world is headed in terms of entrepreneurship. The barriers to entry and the costs and everything are lower than ever. And I think that there's a lot of really awesome trends underway with AI, but then also in general. I mean, I think that there's so much more importance placed on, I mean, already mental health, but then social health and other aspects of just understanding who we are and what really contributes most to a well-lived life. So I've really started digging into and seeing, what other areas do I think I might be able to act while still supporting entrepreneurial youth, which I'm super passionate about.
Well, sounds like it's an exciting direction to be in, a lot of fun yet ahead. So that will be fun to see how it all plays out. Well, now as we have reached the present of the day of the journey, and even looking a bit to where things are headed, great time to transition to the couple questions I always like to ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
Um, my worst business decision, and I don't think it was one specific time period or point, but I think it was waiting as long as I did to bring on the team to run it. I think I had become kind of, I don't want to say like bored, but kind of, I'm an entrepreneur. I really love that 0 to 1 portion of things. And after growing it to a certain level, it does become a lot more about managing and growing than it does that early stage. And it, I think, took me a little bit longer than ideal to realize that. And so, yeah, I think that was probably like the worst decision. And it's more like the lack of a decision to bring somebody in earlier.
No, and that one's always a hard one. Sometimes you get in the trap of hiring too early, and then you wish you'd held off because you don't have something for them, or it's not the right fit, or otherwise, wasted resources. And other times you wait on the back end of, sometimes waiting too long and not bringing someone on and taking on too much yourself, and it can hold the business back. So it's kind of one where on both ends it's an easy mistake to make, but definitely a great one to learn from. Second question now that I like to ask is, so now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one rule of thumb you'd recommend?
Biggest piece of advice is just being action oriented. To build, make, do, test, iterate. I think it's still something that so many of us, whether it's from education system or the way a lot of corporate culture works, like we're kind of waiting for some kind of external validation to say it's time to really put more effort and double down on something. But in the entrepreneurial world, that doesn't really exist usually for a long time. You have to find that internal drive to get you to eventually having enough customers and revenue and whatever else. So I think the biggest advice I have for people is just to get started and iterate and see what's feeling like it's fun and addressing that core problem, but especially being action oriented, and trying to overcome that like perfectionist tendency that so many of us have to try to find that right answer. Be happy with good enough.
No, I think that's a great rule of thumb, great takeaway, and a good something for people to keep in mind as they get a business going. Well, now as we do wrap up towards the end of the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah. So interest in LaunchX. The page is pretty simple. It's launchx.com. So you can find a lot more about LaunchX there. And as far as me personally, you can reach out to me on either LinkedIn or through my LaunchX email. I still check a couple times a week, and that's just Laurie@launchx.com.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage everybody to reach out, support a great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you their listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be guests on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveunicorn.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, and make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And along that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we are always here to help. Well, thank you again, Laurie, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We plant, my friend. Dusty boots, but a heart of gold. Your story's waiting to be told. Inventive journey, here we go. Through highs and lows, we let it flow. Startups rising, small be shine. Your time is now, your stars align. Cowbell ring and feel the beat. Hustle hard, don't take a seat. Every step you're blazing trail. Inventive journey never fails.